Trump wants lower interest rates. Jerome Powell, the current chair of the Federal Reserve, has not been entirely cooperative with that, and it's led to some real housewives level drama in Washington. For better or worse, Powell's term is coming to an end very soon, this coming May, and this morning, Trump announced his replacement. But does it really matter? Or is this person just going to be a figurehead for Trump to do the job himself? Kevin Warsh has not always been described as a Trump loyalist, and the central bank, our Federal Reserve, is supposed to be politically independent. That's how it was designed. But Trump has been showering his affection upon Warsh for years because he believes they share some of the same priorities, at least with interest rates. They've been aligned in terms of public comments on economic growth, Powell's efficacy as Fed chair, and of course, interest rates. Kev's father-in-law, Ronald Lauder, is a longtime Trump ally. So is he more or less credentialed than RFK Jr. is as Secretary of Health? Warsh has already served as Fed governor back during the Bush administration. He's a Wall Street vet and a Republican insider. To cut to the chase, analysts are predicting he will be less politically independent than Powell, but potentially maybe not a complete puppet. Warsh comes to this appointment having already built a reputation in the econ world and is seen by markets as someone who does care about the credibility of the Federal Reserve, which is probably why the market reaction was immediate, but a bit mixed. The Dow opened down and bond markets wobbled, with the yield on treasuries rising slightly. Interest rates aren't doing terribly so far, but it was definitely a cautious, maybe even unsettled reaction from most asset classes because they priced in uncertainty about what this will all mean for future policy, specifically what this will mean for inflation. What does it mean for housing, though? Fed leadership influences mortgage rates indirectly. If the Fed leans towards more rate cuts on the federal funds rate under Warsh, that will ultimately lead to lower long-term borrowing costs. Read the 30-year fixed mortgage interest rates. If the Federal Reserve instead chooses to focus on inflation control, both short and long-term rates are likely to be more steady. Here's the key, though. Even before the Fed does anything, the anticipation and the expectations, the speculation alone moves markets. We saw this over the past few weeks with buyer activity, right? Following Trump's $200 billion announcement, investors reprice mortgage-backed securities based on expectations. Sellers start packing in anticipation. Mortgage rates are sensitive as fuck, you guys. They move on vibes rather than waiting for policy changes or even shifts. The story is changing in real time right now regarding buyers, sellers, regarding housing in America. Stories move markets faster than math does. So let's get inside Warsh's head, if we can. Let's talk about the gaps between the rhetoric and reality. I can't get enough of that line from Mark Carney. Warsh was publicly echoing Trump on calls for lower interest rates, but historically, he's been more hawkish on inflation. So it's hard to predict what stance he'll take, but we can certainly say that he has a fine line to walk if he wants to maintain the credibility of his role in the central bank, which he says he does. Because Trump will not likely be quiet about criticizing him if he doesn't give him the lower interest rates he wants and give them to him fast. What happens between now and May, though? Is Powell officially a lame duck? Commentators have been calling him one for a while, honestly, because his term has been wrapping up. So I would say in terms of market psychology, he's out. In terms of short-term decisions, like the next couple Fed meetings, he's still in charge and has influence over the decisions they'll make, whether to continue to pause or cut or hike. In the real estate space, we need to monitor these treasury yields to see if traders are pricing in more cuts or more pauses from the Fed. It wouldn't hurt to tune in to the Senate confirmation hearings for Warsh either. He might give us some signals on his stance towards rate cuts, his feelings, his views on Fed independence. Those will be market moving. For my buyers out there, I want to be very direct. Stop waiting for a version of the market that requires political incentives or policy change, because by the time those materialize, your window will be closed. For my realtor besties watching this is an amazing moment to take the lead, to direct the conversation. Our clients need help separating the signals, the real signals, from the noise, and I would love to help you position yourself at the intersection of psychology and policy and what it's all going to mean for the housing market.